It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Welcome to The New Next, a podcast that addresses current events and how they will impact the future.
As I said at the outset, I mean, I'm still learning so much. This thing is moving so fast. There will always be things to talk about, and I think too, people that aren't in the industry, the onus is kind of on everybody to make sure that we're cognizant of it and learning about it, because it's going to affect everybody's lives as well. And so we want to make sure that we can translate it into something that everybody understands about how it works and what values and risks it has. And but that's going to be a big ongoing conversation for the rest of our lives, because it's going to be included in more and more and more of our life going forward.
Now, one of the things that, even though I feel, I mean, like you said, we could talk about this forever. So we'll just talk about it for a little bit longer, is the oil and gas industry, or energy. I'm butchering this question that Matt has up here, but maybe, and this might be where Matt, I don't see him, so I don't know if he's just in another room or if he's going and planning against us on how to take over the world with your AI. But what are some ways that AI could be deployed in energy and oil and gas applications, like that will make the world better, I guess?
We'll have to get Matt's opinion on this as well, but my understanding is that it's already being used in oil and gas. This is something, right now it's probably a large, data contract that, these, Exxon and all these folks have to help them out, but it's already here. But Matt, in terms of your question about how AI can integrate with oil and gas, I mean, I'm sure you could talk more specifically to some of those aspects, but it's everything from data analysis to active control of physical assets. There's so much data in this industry about what geology there is, what the current production statistics are for wells across the world, all of the material that's going into and coming out of those wells in order to manage them and produce. And
just all the sensors and incorporated with everything too.
All the wireline stuff going down and gathering all that information, second by second, microsecond by microsecond. All that information is something that, can be fed into these algorithms to help optimize production, decrease costs, make sure that they're using the right amount of materials, the right type, going to the right location. That's just on the data side. I mean, on the other sides, I mean, there's a lot of we've talked a lot about tracking of physical assets in the industry, and that there's just a massive amount of logistics, and it's still a
probably the most logistic intensive industry if you talk about like fragmented pieces of equipment and tools and stuff that have to be tracked and all show up on location.
Matt, do you know if there are automated drill sites, like no roughnecks, no nothing, just pads and machines?
Yeah, Schlumberger is building one. I actually tried when I was at Baker. They didn't do it, but I submitted automated drilling platform as a patent in the system. I submitted some great patents that they didn't try to follow up on. But
we'll have to John on to talk about that. Yeah,
that Schlumberger and stuff have gone out and built. But yeah, they're building it now. So the automated drill pipe systems, it's basically pulls the drill pipe out, does a lot of the roughneck sort of stuff. And we kind of saw that originally with, I would say, remote operations for drilling. So all the drilling used to be on site, and then you started having while I was there, Baker bought a remote operations drilling company and incorporated that in. So it was like you could have one directional driller out of Houston, basically drilling 5 different wells. And since all the sites have high-speed internet on them, you can basically control all this remote. So that's kind of an advantage. A lot of that stuff, having your technical talent that's not necessarily super available everywhere, being able to remotely carry out some of these operations is usually a huge cost-saving thing. And it's a dangerous industry. So whenever you can implement technology to remove risk on people's lives or serious injury, it's I think some people look at this as jobs being lost, but it's also a very natural progression for the industry. And then another thing, after you produce it too, having those scenarios where there's a potential failure or a decrease in the optimal or decrease in the quality of the production of the well, it can trigger or uncover events like that and help people to bring them to site, and then also give them kind of context around what's going on, simplify a lot of things. So
purely on the AI side, I kind of look at it, maybe the easier metaphor is looking at self-driving. So if you've ever seen the heads-up display in a Tesla or other self-driving cars, and it shows you the computer vision idea of what it's looking at. And so it says, here's a lane edge, here is another lane edge, here's the car going by me, here's a person, and it can kind of intuit and understand the context that it's in and where it needs to go. And so, when we talk about, applications for it in other industries, we know the algorithm or the set of rules to do something. Here's how the order of things you do to drill a well. Well, in the real world, the pipe swings a little bit, the ground reacts a little bit differently. The motor dragging things up and down isn't always in the perfect place. And so you need something that can react and understand in real time to what's going on. And so you can take those kinds of things and train it to understand what it's looking at and operate automatically for the most part. And so there are things like that could be brought into either drilling or other parts of the industry. Self-driving fuel trucks. I don't know. I mean, we already have freight and 18-wheelers and things like that we're working on to be able to automate. So you can bring a lot of those things in addition to just the pure data analysis things we talked about at the beginning, to really allow us to do a lot more, do it cheaper, do it safer than we have been in the past.
So one scenario that I've thought a lot about is kind of like this triggering scenario is obviously ESG and gas loss is a huge issue these days. So a lot of people are incorporating drones, methane detecting drones in their operations. So if you have an integrated system, you could have a drone basically going out and scanning the field. If it comes back with high readings on natural gas or something, since everything is correlated to a specific lat long point, they can basically target where the source of the gas that they think that they in is, basically call out another specialized machine that can go out automatically, self-drive, like Joel said, go out, do initial evaluation on what's happening before anybody even has the ability to get out in this place in the first place. And then by the time it can either figure out whether or not this is a problem or not and notify the field hand on what sort of course of action might be on this. So it was interesting when Google Glass first came out. I was like, this has a really interesting application because you can layer in that kind of data document framework over your reality at the moment. But I really think that since you're dealing with such disparate assets and such technical machines like oil and gas, really has the ability and you know, but unfortunately this is the case too, but military applications too, to really be a AI forward business when you're talking about what's driving movement and decisions on the ground before getting human intervention necessarily involved. There's unfortunately a lot of use case in using that for killing people too. So
yeah, that's probably what would have to happen for it to really move forward, right?
Yeah. Well, and you know, NASA, a lot of people of NASA have said in the past that they support increased military spending because that's, you know, a lot of our greatest breakthroughs from a science element have been tied to military spending. So,
oh yeah, yeah. Which is why it's sad, like you said earlier.
yeah, I guess that's true.
And on that sad note, if you would like to learn more about the New Next podcast, find us at thenewNextPodcast.com, where you can suggest a topic you would like for us to cover. If you enjoyed what you heard, share the podcast, tell a friend about it, or rate us with 5 stars.